Hello everyone! I know nothing about Deathsaurus other than that's a funny name. Honestly.
Okay, so quick rundown. For years, Deathsaurus was thought to be a mistranslation by the early English fandom, and that the more proper name would be the kaiju-esque Deathsaurus.
Bizarre. Well, that's...
Or Deathsaurus.
Honestly, that's more
Or
spectacle.
Deathsaurus.
He sounds like a Godzilla villain.
Well, yeah, he turns into a fucking kaiju.
Yeah.
But then, in BotCon 2015, at the Japanese Perspective panel, which I was at, the person who created him confirmed, no, it was Deathsaurus.
I do like this silly name of Deathsaurus. Who is your boss? I am Deathsaurus. He does sound like a very toyetic name.
He's very toyetic. He's leader of the Breastforce.
The what?
Don't laugh. You see, they're named that way because of their special breast armor. It turns into animals. Everyone's Soundwave.
I feel like they're gonna be...
Every time Hasbro's localized them, they have been the Chest Force.
Makes sense. Because, that other name is, just something like middle schoolers will giggle at.
Well, yes, and as a middle schooler, I absolutely did. Arch enemy of Star Saber, antagonist of the Victory cartoon, the first Brave villain, and actually legitimately fucking like Star Saber's considered the prototype of the Brave series in Japan. Deathsaurus, there go, is the prototype of the Brave villain in Japan, which makes sense because the first one on Red Geister was literally just Deathsaurus' toy in red.
Ah.
In the manga, he was nicer. He had a family. That family was an adopted human child, supplemented by cybernetics.
Oh.
He had a wife. Her name was Emeralda. Since then, he showed up in the fan club stuff because, you know, might as well just fucking... Well, because, like, Fun Publications' first year, they just made Deathsaurus a thing for their BotCon.
I see.
Since then, he just kind of cropped in and out, showing up briefly in IDW. Briefly in IDW 2, where Cliffjumper kicked his ass. He's never really been a main character. I think his husk was revived during the events of Zone.
I will say this, if you guys want us to do more of this stuff, support us over on the Patreon, because guess what? That does influence us more, and hey, we might watch more Transformers over there on the Patreon if you guys want. But you have to get over there. You have to, I don't know, give me $1. I don't know, if you want.
Give the Wolfington $1.
It definitely helps, because to see just about everything, only $1 a month, really. Why only $1 a month? Because, well, the highest I would go is $5 for anything on Patreon, which is the highest tier there. 1, 3, and 5 if you want to do that. Though most of you are probably skipping past this point, so why am I even thinking?
Anyway, that's all I know
joke.
about Deathsaurus. Let's go.
That's the joke. But anyway.
This episode,
Ooh,
we're taking
cool
another
design.
trip to the Japanese side of the world of the Transformers for a look at the history of
Oh,
a robot
wait,
whose
holy
name
grail.
says it
I
all.
do like robots
the
with big, cool
Decepticon
wings.
Emperor of Destruction.
Decepticon Emperor.
In fairness, Emperor of Destruction is the usual Japanese title given to a Decepticon leader, starting with Megatron, Galvatron, Overlord, Scorponok. Deathsaurus, however, is the one that it really fucking feels like it fits for. Because, like, Overlord had a boss. Scorponok... he was trying, but ultimately he was just a little dude with a big-ass mech suit.
Yeah.
Deathsaurus.
Deathsaurus.
Deathsaurus was the Decepticon leader of the
toys alone.
1989 Japanese original series, Transformers Victory. He transformed
Victory.
into a bird-like
I don't know anything
dragon
about
monster
Victory.
and was a member of the Decepticon subgroup known as the Breastforce.
You mentioned this, it's goofy.
Each robot in this group had a removable chest plate that triple changed into a weapon for them to wield and an animal robot called a breast animal. As the largest figure in the range,
You're not helping with
Deathsaurus'
these names.
unique gimmick was that he had 2 breast animals, tiger
Oh.
breast and eagle breast.
These names are not
Infamously,
helping.
Deathsaurus' name used to be a
You
source
said
of some
breast.
confusion for English-speaking
God.
fans. Its unconventional Japanese spelling, Deathsaurus, causing debate about exactly how it should
Incidentally,
be
that's what Hasbro
interpreted.
uses whenever they make a toy of him now.
Either one works. They're both, honestly, one's a more toy-like name, but the other is...
Well, the other people, they're worried about putting death in the name of a toy. That's why they changed the names of the other members of the Breastforce. Kill Bison is now Iron Bison.
That's why they were originally going to change the name of when they brought Gundam Wing over from the Death Scythe. Yeah.
Yeah, and also Hellbat is now Fellbat.
Yeah, they did a lot of that.
In English. Many options were put forward over the years, but Deathsaurus was always the most popular, and in
Yeah, it's always gonna be the
2015,
most
popular,
the original
kids.
toy designer Kojin Ono
Deathsaurus,
confirmed that it
Deathsaurus,
was
Oh, they left
always
off
the name's
Deathsaurus.
intended meaning.
Death
The
Czar does
profile
kind of
that
work.
came with Deathsaurus' toy described him as a savage,
It's
cruel
not
warlord who
Nearly as bad as Violent Jigger.
Violent Jäger.
despised humans, but who had an unusual
could be
soft
localized as
spot
Valiant
for
Chugger.
children. The
That's
Victory
Ranger
cartoon
Iga.
chose
That's
not
strange.
to explore that latter aspect of his personality.
The Japanese
In the
language
series, set in the year
is
2025,
fun to interpret.
The
Deathsaurus
animation,
set
though,
out
here
to
is pretty
steal
good.
the energy of Earth
Yeah.
in order to
This is the last
re-energize
animated
his
Transformers series in Japan
planet-destroying
until,
fortress, long
Beast
ago
Wars.
sealed away in
Damn.
the Dark Nebula by his arch-rival, Autobot leader Star Saber.
So, I don't
typically
know.
only go
Is
into
this supposed to
battle to
take
take
on in the future or something?
It is the year 2025.
Dear God.
I don't think Star Saber was supreme leader of the Autobots. That's at the start of the series, and then Ginrai fucking dies.
Huh.
Ginrai having inherited the position on. I don't actually know why they gave him the job. He was an angry trucker, and now he's the robotic body said angry trucker was using to beat ass.
Well then.
The angry trucker is presumably still trucking back on Earth.
Well then. Also, whenever I think of
That's
Star
this was
Saber,
weird.
I actually just think of the sword from Armada.
That's because it's a cool ass name and it was a cool ass sword.
Yeah.
Star Saber
It feels
himself.
weird to give it to an
Otherwise, he
Autobot.
left a lot of the fighting to his underlings, who he would happily sacrifice if their usefulness to him ever ran out.
I mean, that's pretty
His
normal for a
minions
Decepticon.
included the other members of the Breastforce, who could combine into the giant
I'm
robot
looking forward to the
Lio
Haslab
Kaiser,
figure.
and whose commander.
Wait, this is gonna
reveals
get a figure.
Yeah, no, so Deathsaurus and Star Saber already had Haslab campaigns, and I got them. They are incredible. Haslab is crowdfunding, by the way. They just did one for the rest of the Breastforce and their combined form, and their anime-only 7th member, Death Cobra.
Death Cobra.
Yeah, he was a replacement arm for their combined form, because none of them really wanted Hellbat on the team.
Huh.
Hellbat, knowing this, killed him and blamed some Micromasters for it.
Also, when I hear the name Leo Kaiser, it makes me think of, what was that other team of all lions that combined?
Voltron. But yeah, no, the Breastforce, they all had vehicle alt modes, but animalistic stylings in robot mode.
Ah, I see. Alright.
What are you thinking of the Predacons?
I wasn't thinking of the Predacons, I was thinking of all lions. It's not a Transformers thing, it's,
Voltron.
yeah, Voltron. Sorry, I got pulled away for a second. Anyway. Voltron...
The half of Voltron people remember, anyway.
Yeah, I'll be honest, I didn't like Voltron before, and I don't like him now. I feel like just having them all be lions is not a very good design to me. And if you didn't know me, that's the fan service.
Second half of Voltron. It was all vehicles.
Oh, yeah, that was a thing. But here's what I'm going to say. When it comes to Voltron, I just don't like the design overall. Which is kind of why I could never get to a first or second show, because that's the fan service I care about. Cool robot designs. Anyway,
Form burning
Dak
sword.
was a
Goofy.
young upstart constantly scheming
I
to
refuse.
overthrow Deathsaurus and take his place as Emperor.
sounds about right.
You
Deathsaurus
can't
was a
be Emperor of
fearsome
Destruction without a
warrior,
Starscream.
armed with the deadly living
Yeah,
metal
Starscream
destroying
needs
cannon,
his crown
with which he
and cape
memorably
for some
killed
reason.
the Autobot god
I'm
Jinrai,
amazed that
but he
that
was
gun was
ultimately
not on the
defeated
original
by
toy.
Starsaber in their
Oh.
final showdown, and his deactivated body was sent drifting off into
Starsaber, I will say
space.
this, the Autobot has an alright design.
Deathsaurus' story unfolded significantly differently in the Victory manga. In this version of the tale, Deathsaurus had been rivals with Starsaber since they were very young bots. His
Okay.
fondness for children led him to take in an
Oh.
orphaned human boy named
This is
Solon,
weird.
repairing his wounded body with cybernetics and raising him as a Decepticon.
What?
However, the Autobots and
Yeah.
their human allies were
Told
able
you,
to
he had a
convince
kid.
Solon to embrace his human heritage, turn against his adopted father, and
That
join
is
them
so
in
weird,
defending
though,
the
that a
land of his
Decepticon would
birth.
even care about a human.
In sharp contrast to the heartless character of the cartoon, in the manga, it turned out that Deathsaurus was only stealing energy to protect and care for the Decepticons' non-combatant families,
What?
including his own wife, Esmeralda. Realizing
That's
that he had
crazy.
only done evil in pursuit of a noble goal,
This is so
Starsaber
strange.
extended
This
the
is
hand
not how I
of
thought
peace
this would
to his
end,
childhood
with
friend,
someone named
and
Deathsaurus.
accepted, the two joining forces to
Yeah.
build a better future
You
together.
think he named himself?
Maybe. I don't know how Autobots, or I don't know how Transformers get their names, so.
1992, Deathsaurus' toy was recolored and re-released in another Japanese super robot
Yep, I
toy
told
line,
you.
the
Ah.
brave fighter of
Red
legend,
Geist.
Dagarn, as an
Oh,
evil
brave
alien
fighters.
mecha named Red Geist. But Deathsaurus himself wouldn't have a major role in Transformers again for a long time. His only
Understandable.
notable
Cameo
appearance in the
in
15
Dreamland.
years that followed Victory being his Western media debut. A single
For as far as I know,
cameo in
Japan
a
doesn't really
Dreamwave
do a lot
Productions
with
comic book in
Transformers,
2004.
besides little manga clips
That changed
nowadays.
in 2005
Actually, they just
when
started a new web series called Wild King.
Oh yeah, I heard about that.
It is. It's not. It's not particularly high quality, but I'm gonna follow it.
It
toy of
looks interesting
Deathsaurus
from
was
what I've seen.
released exclusively at official
Also-
convention.
Also, can I
BotCon.
say this? I've seen some of the new toys that Hasbro's releasing for Transformers. I don't like them.
I'm looking forward to Earthspark Soundwave Deluxe. It looks incredible.
I just don't like how they're like 3-step changes. I just, oh, it goes
They've
on
been
down.
doing
A
the
recolor
one-step
of the
changes since Age of
2001
Extinction.
Robots in Disguise
I know, I don't
Megatron
like
toy. The figure was a six-changer, representing an upgraded version of Deathsaurus who
I-
could now transform
yeah, this is
from
recolored,
robot to bat,
the
jet,
Trent,
two-headed dragon, dragster,
Robots in Disguise.
and giant hand.
My lord, what will your
This
fifth
incarnation of
what will your
Deathsaurus
fifth alt
appeared
mode
in the
be?
convention's
Hand.
exclusive comic book, attempting to clone an army of Insecticons for himself. Later, between 2010
Also,
and
a bit more
2011,
context for
he
that.
featured
What?
The time period was shortly after the end of the Great War, so leading into Beast Wars.
Ah, I see.
This was Deathsaurus making one last gasp at winning the war for the Decepticons.
I see.
in a flashback storyline in the Transformers Collectors
Now,
Club
this was
comic
because they still had to
set
sell some of those
9
box
million
sets.
years in the past, which reimagined him as an early Decepticon warlord and the inventor of combiner technology, who was overthrown and banished from Cybertron by Megatron as part of his
He
rise
made
to
the
power.
Combaticons after
Outside of BotCon,
after luring them away from the Autobots.
He made the Combaticons.
Yeah, they were an Autobot elite strike team, the Combatibots, part of the elite guard. And Deathsaurus captured them, offered them a chance, offered them power, revealed that he gave them the ability to combine into Bruticus, and then sicked them on the rest of the elite guard. And as soon as Megatron took power, he stripped them down to the personality components, and that's why they were in a detention center in the cartoon.
Wow. Alright then. More than a bit horrifying. Anyway, back into this.
Deathsaurus hasn't had the greatest luck when it comes to toys. A few model kits and figurines of him have been released
Model
in
kits.
Japan, and a super deformed Robot Heroes figure was
ST.
designed for 2008's Transformers Universe toy line, but it was cancelled. Deathsaurus did finally get another new
Isn't
toy
that just
in
Skylinks?
the Combiner Wars line
It
in
is.
2016,
They released
but
a new
it was a
Lio-Kaiser
recolor
with
of the
the
Combiner
recolored
Wars
Combiner Wars
Skylinks
figures.
figure, and so bore
they picked
almost
this
no
for, the
resemblance to the
torso.
original character, transforming from a four-legged dragonbird monster into a space
Try to
shuttle,
track this toy
sold
down. It's
under the name
$700.
Deathsaurus, because
So
Hasbro
that's
weren't going to put the word death in the name of a toy.
Oh
for
my
children.
God,
He came in
Hasbro!
a
You
set
sell. There's death all over D&D.
with
You
other
sell
members of the
D&D.
Breastforce, with whom he could now
Oh,
combine
he's part of
to form a new
Lio-Kaiser.
version of Lio-Kaiser.
I like that head
Safe
though.
to say, this figure didn't exactly fulfill
Yeah,
the
but,
desires
again,
of
that's
fans
just
hoping
Skyring's
for
head
a true
repainted.
updated Deathsaurus
Yeah.
toy. And unfortunately,
Actually, no, that is
to
a new
date,
head. Skyring's
that
was
still
just the
hasn't
lion
happened.
head without a
He
second
was
head.
one of the candidates
Huh.
in an official poll that let fans
Right, he was
vote
supposed to
for
be
a
the unnamed
character to get
evil.
a
I
new
voted
toy
for him.
in 2018's Power of the Primes line, but he
And then Optimus
lost out
Primal
to
won.
Optimus Primal.
I just hope we can finally make our little Transformer series, which will eventually be a thing, if I have any say in it.
But despite his absence from toy aisle shelves, Deathsaurus has continued to appear in various pieces of media. In 2015, he joined the world of IDW Publishing's comic books, which drew on Deathsaurus's more compassionate characterization from the Victory manga to depict
Also,
him
a
as a
lot of early
Decepticon
Victory
general
character
who
designs.
genuinely
Were amongst his
cared.
fodder. Well, not fodder. He actually gave a shit about his troops. Amongst his troops.
Oh.
Pretty much all of it. Pretty much every Decepticon from Victory, early designs for the Decepticons from Victory, with the exception of Black Shadow, who the DJD murdered the shit out of earlier, and Hellbat, who had a starring role in Drift Empire of Stone, and got the shit murdered out of him.
Oh. Well then.
He died like an asshole.
Well then. I don't know what to say about that.
cared for the bots under his command, and who had gone rogue because he couldn't tolerate how Megatron mistreated his troops.
That's actually kind of
When
nice.
Megatron
There's a
abandoned
general that cares.
Decepticonism and joined the Autobots, Deathsaurus and his forces agreed to join the Decepticon Justice Division
Ooh,
in
bad
finding
choice.
and killing their former leader. But in the ensuing battle, the Autobots hit Deathsaurus with a psychic weapon that amplified his guilt over the toll the fight was taking on his men, leading him to withdraw and leave the DJD to take Megatron on alone.
Oh.
When IDW rebooted their comic book universe in 2019, Deathsaurus was featured again, this time as an interplanetary ambassador in the era before the war.
Ah,
A
interesting.
cruel bot who only traveled to other worlds for the chance to amuse himself by inflicting suffering on the natives. He
Damn.
attempted to pillage
I'd
the
like a
energy
toy of
of
this
the planet
design.
Probat, but was stopped by Cliffjumper. He was later killed by the mad tyrant Exarchon when his evil
Exarchon.
spark possessed Deathsaurus's body. In 2016, Deathsaurus was added to the
He has a
Earth
shield.
Wars mobile game and went on to serve as a major recurring antagonist in its story,
Somewhat recurring.
striving to create his own new
You're still
loyal
playing this phone
combiner.
game, aren't you?
In 2020,
I
the
kinda
game's
dropped
writer,
off. I keep
Simon
meaning to,
Furman,
but then I
would
just
even
don't.
add Deathsaurus to the world of the original Marvel Transformers comic book when he included him in the prequel miniseries Secrets and Lies,
pretty good.
battling Starsaber during the war on Cybertron 4 million years ago. From cruel to kind and back
He has a
again,
lot of
that's the
differing
story
takes
of
on him,
Deathsaurus
honestly.
so far. But
Yeah.
with a new Starsaber toy coming as part of the Legacy line in 2022,
Then he's probably
fans are
bound to
still
get
hoping
one.
that a true modern
Oh, yeah, that was the
Deathsaurus
Haslab
toy will
release.
follow it.
Ah,
the
so it
two
is on the way.
arch-rivals can finally cross
It's already
swords
there. I've had it
again.
on my shelf for like a year.
Oh, then that's good to
And
know.
those are the basics on
Game of
Deathsaurus.
Thrones.
Where did you first encounter this big bad bot? Let me know in the comments. For
Wait,
more
I-
He's typing away, everyone. Quick, stop him.
I'm getting a picture.
Okay.
Yeah. Anyway, here's Haslab Deathsaurus.
Okay, I'm gonna show the picture. That doesn't look too bad, honestly.
He's pretty big. The other issue is a lot of his weapons are stowed on the back of the throne, but like he has a big ass. Well, he has the sword he used. He has an arrow, a flail, his living metal destroying cannon.
Level metal. All right then.
It's his iconic gun from the show that his toy just did not have.
Hmm.
Oh, and Star Saber came with 2 members of the Micromaster Rescue Patrol, recolored from the Siege Micromasters, but the other 2 didn't have equivalent figures in Siege, so they just made 2 new Micromasters to go with Deathsaurus.
All right. Well then, what are all of your thoughts on Deathsaurus? I like the name. I think his design is pretty cool, but I'm not all that attached to him because, well, I didn't grow up with him. Anyway, thank all of you so much, and we'll see you later. Bye-bye, and take care of yourselves.
Farewell.
Also, if you want help, like, comment, subscribe. I just add that at the very end, but yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, there you guys.